Okay, hello. Hello everybody. I hope you're well. Okay, we've got a few people there. Nice to see everybody. I hope you're doing well. So, welcome to Abubu's my tea club member brewing session. And I think it's morning time in Europe, and we're trying to hit the morning time for people. So hello. We've got Andrea, Agnieszka. Hello, good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. And for today's Brewing Live, you've got myself, George, one of the staff members here at Abubu. And we're going to brew a couple of teas from the last tea club shipment, and also talk a little bit about the Blue Forest Tea Garden and a couple of other bits as well. And as always in these live sessions we normally do on a Friday, if you have any questions at any time, please don't be afraid to ask. I'm happy to answer all and every question and talk more about other tea topics. I'll perhaps bring up a couple of topics that came up in this morning's session, and just see what you guys think. But it would be nice for a more interactive feeling, so please feel free to drop in the comments and ask me all and every question. It's always welcome. And I keep looking over here because I can see your comments. So as it happens, I can have a chat to you. So in the spring tea club shipment, now this is the one I opened this morning, so you can see it's a little bit worse for wear. But we have, well, of course, our journal, which was remade for springtime. This is a brand new style, which I hope you've had a little look through. There's a lot more English in there for people to have a read of if they can't read Japanese. We have a beautiful handy dandy postcard, which let me just switch camera views. Let's just switch camera views, and if we hold on, we do that. So bear with me just a moment, and something like that. Then if I do that, ta-da! Okay, so we have our tea set. So we have our journal, where we've got lots of wonderful things in here. You can see there's a lot more English. We have a lot of the teas which are included and where they lie on the tasting. And then we have some different viewpoints. And we have a story here of the Blue Forest Tea Garden, and in this we have lots about one of our tea club members, your fellow tea club members, Mike. So this is Mike over here. And Mike created a little competition for the tea club teas, which was sent last year in September, and that included some prizes as well. So he put our teas in a head-to-head against the staff members, and it was quite cool. And we ended up getting a wonderful prize at the end. So Mike was very, very kind, but more on that a little bit later. So yeah, so I hope you really enjoyed the journal this time. And we have our postcard. So in here we have the shading material, and this is directly on the tea bush. So you don't really get to see this view very often, but this is what it looks like inside the tea bush while it's being shaded. So this would have been for a perhaps matcha or a kabuse sencha, but not gyokuro, because gyokuro has a elevated shading. So fun fact for you there. So we have many teas to have a look at. So we're going to brew a couple of teas. Now, if anybody has a preference what we brew, we can have a little chat about the tea and which ones you prefer. So we have Sencha of the Gushing Brook, we have Sencha of the Earth, we have Hachiju Hachiya Sencha, we have Kabuse Sencha, and then Sencha of the Wind, and Gold Hojicha. So I don't know whether anybody's got a particular favourite. If there's a there's a favourite amongst these that somebody wants me to brew, I can do a bit of that. I brewed Earth and Gold this morning. So if anybody has a preference, then please let me know. Just have a little type in the chat and see what you fancy. Because we were having a chat talking about what are the favourites out of these ones this morning, and I have to be honest, one of my favourite teas was over here, centre of the Gushing Brook. A very, very tasty tea. So I think to start, if there's no suggestions, I'll probably jump in for some Hachiju Hachia, because this is a very tasty tea and you don't get to drink this too often. So I'll tell you a bit about the story behind this tea, just in case we don't already know. So Hachiju Hachia is the 88th night after the start of spring. So I can show you the tea. Ta-da! Okay, so this is a beautiful, beautiful leaf. So it's a very thin pack, and that's because it's such a well-rolled tea by Aki-san. You can see just how beautiful that leaf is. So shiny as well. So I can bring you a little bit closer. How beautiful. So very beautiful tea. So very well rolled, and I'm going to brew it using one of the white kyusus, and this is so we can see clearly the brewing that's happening inside. So I will grab some very hot water from over here. We have a kettle just out of shot, which I'm sure you can hear. So I'm just going to get a bit of hot water, bring that back over, and I want to heat the teapot. I might put it on here, so we can just heat the teaware as well. And that's very hot. So this is about 85 degrees. It's gone from 95 into the pitcher, and it's dropped about 5 degrees Celsius, so it's about 90, and then it goes a step lower into about 85. Now back to this tea. So this tea was harvested on the 2nd, oh no, was it? No, it was harvested on the 1st of May, and this was a very special day. It was actually raining, a little bit like today, but this tea was beautifully grown and harvested at just the right time for our event. And the hand picking, hand rolling event in springtime, we did a bit of hand picking and we added that to the batch as well, and that's what made this tea. A little bit of hand picking and also some machine processing. So a very, very beautiful tea. And we've had lots of lovely kind words said about it from all over, with people having received it and really, really enjoyed brewing and drinking this tea. So the water's going to be quite hot, and you can see it in that beautiful leaf. But I'm only going to fill the teapot up about halfway. Well, Martina says hello from Poland. Hello, hello. So I'm pouring the water in now, and I'm only filling the teapot up maybe just under halfway. And this is a good amount for brewing this type of tea. One of my secret tips and tricks, is to brew under halfway of your teapot. It gives the tea a little bit more room to breathe. It also allows more heat to dissipate, so you get a cooler brewing as you go. It loses heat faster, and we can easily see the color with this Futanashi Kyusu, this lidless Kyusu, and we can see it brewing. So I'm going to let that brew for a while before we pour into our cups. So it is a really delicious tea, a very special tea, and I think I should talk about why is it called Hachiju Hachia. So the reason it's called Hachiju Hachia is because this was harvested 88 nights after the start of spring. And that's a very important date for tea farmers in Japan, because this is the date where there's going to be no more frost, so it's safe to harvest the tea, or you're going to get good flavors after that. You don't have to worry about the frost. So that was a very important date, and we hold an event every year to remember this date. So this is a wonderful day. So it looks like I can start pouring the first infusion. So you're going to be able to see the beautiful color of this tea. It's got fantastic color. So I'm brewing 2 cups here. 1 for me, 1 for you. Look at that. Beautiful. Yellow gold. Touch of green. Wonderful tea. So, if you haven't tried this tea, I thoroughly recommend. It is a wonderful tea. It's got all the power of that spring tea that we love from Japanese tea. And look how green. Look, where are we? How beautiful that leaf is. So fine and tiny. Yeah, a beautiful tea. I'd be interested to know which teas from this Tea Club shipment you guys have been enjoying. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so you can see the wonderful colour of the tea, but maybe let's switch back to the other camera. And so just bear with me. Okay, there we are, we're back. So, not the fanciest way. Okie dokie. So, let's enjoy. Martina says, I'm still waiting for mine. They're on the way. Well, fingers crossed they arrive soon, Martina. There's some very delicious tea in there, so I hope it arrives very soon for you. So, it smells like the steaming machine. It smells so good. Wow. Oh, that's powerful. That is very powerful tea. That is a really tasty tea. You know when you drink a fresh sencha from the new year and the New Year's harvest, and it's got that liveliness. There's something about that tea at this time of year. It's just it's so refreshing. It's very refreshing tea. So, delicious. Well, what are you guys drinking at home? Are you brewing along? Are you drinking similar teas? Wow, that's tasty. And these leaves are so small and yeah, beautiful teas. So this is Hachiju Hachiya. Now this tea is I'll leave this cup over here for you. So this is one of my favorite teas. It's a very, very enjoyable one. And I never seem to tire of it, because at any time of year the flavour's developing and changing. So you can always taste something new, something interesting when drinking this tea. You can brew it hot, cold, iced. There's so many ways to brew it. And you can always drink it. So this is a very special tea depending because of the date and also how beautiful the leaf is and the production of it. And it's an event. So if you're able to come to Japan, you're able to join the event. So it's a wonderful day. You meet lots of other tea club members and we all join together and do a bit of hand picking and taste some delicious teas. So Andrea says, I have Sayama Kaori Sencha. So Sayama Kaori is Sencha of the Forest Glow. So if that's from a bugo, I'm not sure. But that's a very, very tasty one, Sencha of the Forest Glow. That comes from our tea tour tea fields. So if you've been on a tea tour, you've seen that tea field. So very cool. And Martina says, what's the cultivar? Single origin. Yep. This is single origin, and the cultivar is Yabukita. So it's even single garden. So it comes from one garden. And you can see the harvest actually on one of our YouTube videos for the tea club shipment, the Spring Teas 2022. You can see all about the teas there. And if you receive our tea club box, then you're able to scan the QR code and head straight to the video and find all about the delicious teas. So yeah, we have a video about how all the teas were harvested, and then how we brewed them as well, and what do we think of them. So we had a lot of help from one of our interns we've got at the moment, Justin, who's a videographer, and he helped set up this beautiful scene for us, for me and Kaio-san to record in, and then I went into the editing studio and went away and we made this video for you guys, so please enjoy. So Andrea says, unfortunately it's from another vendor. Unbelievable, Andrea. No problem. We love Japanese tea. One of the cool things about Abubu is we want to share the passion with Japanese tea with people all over the world. So one of our primary goals is to share our passion for Japanese tea. So as long as you're enjoying Japanese tea, we're happy. So as to that, here's another cup. So this is our second infusion. I used much hotter water and brewed for a shorter period of time and got quite a bit of strength from the tea. So I expect to have a little bit more bitterness. So more bitterness, a little bit of astringency actually, a little bit less umami flavour, but very, very tasty tea. So it makes you feel alive. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Martina. It is single origin, single garden, and the cultivar is Yabukita. And if you want to see the harvest of this tea is on our YouTube channel now in the Spring Teas. And if you go to, I think it's the first garden we visit in the video is a rainy day, and that's our Hachiju Hachiya harvest. So that's with Aki-san, Taichi-kun, and Mari-chan. So yeah. Okay, so this is that tea. Now we've got a few more teas, we've got a few other teas to have a little look at. So if anyone has a preference on the other teas, what would they like to see brewed or talked about, then I'm happy to go with your recommendations or your brewing preference, which teas. We have, Andrea says, Abubu is the place to order Goko matcha for me, but shipping to the EU is a bit wonky for now. Yes, so we're not able to ship via Japan Post to most European countries, and it's very sad. So we're not able to get delicious teas to Europe without using DHL, and that's a bit tricky for some people in some countries. So yes. So Martina says, thank you so much. I will have a look. Next question, which one of those is the most umami? Oh, excellent question. So we have a few teas here for the most umami, and we have a story of one of them as well. So we have Sencha of the Wind is probably one of our most popular products, and this is a cultivar called Zairai, which is a local cultivar to the area, and this is shaded for 2 weeks, so this is very umami. We also have our Kabuse Sencha, another very popular tea, and this is Yabukita, the standard Japanese cultivar, and this is also shaded for 2 weeks. And this comes from a garden called Somada, and this one comes from, I believe, Tenku, the Heavenly Tea Gardens, or no, Koshigoe, just before Heavenly Tea Gardens. And then lastly, now this is a surprise, we have Sencha of the Gushing Brook. So we asked Aki-san to make some more Sencha of the Gushing Brook this year, and this is usually made with the Roji method, or Jun, which is just open to the sunlight. Now for the last 2 years in this garden where this tea comes from, there's been a lot of frost, so unfortunately the harvest has been damaged for the last 2 years. And so over the last winter, Aki-san decided, I'm going to put in some shading material on a shelf style so I can prevent such from happening again. And then at the start of this spring, he covered one day to stop the frost from damaging the leaf, and he never uncovered it. So it then was shaded for 17 days and produced this delicious tea. So this is no longer the tea it has been for the last 2 years, and I need to list a new product on the website. This is currently only available in the Tea Club boxes, which were sent in May. So if you are a Tea Club member, then you've received a very unique tea and currently unavailable for retail. So very, very special tea. And this is probably my favourite tea of 2022. Spring tea of 2022 anyway. But in terms of which one is the most umami, I would probably say this one in the middle here, this Kabuse Sencha. The Sencha of the Gushing Brook, this one has a very fruity flavour, very interesting aroma, is a very special tea. The Sencha of the Wind has a lot of umami, but has a little bit of that power that you get with Zairai, with the mixed genetic variety it has. But this Kabuse Sencha does really well when shaded, and is a very tasty tea. So I will brew some Kabuse Sencha for now. So let's do that one next, and I will brew in this other style of teapot we have, this darker one with the clay unglazed on the inside. And this will change the flavour slightly of the tea, having an unglazed teapot, but I think it improves in a lot of ways. If we want to do without any change to the tea, well, then we have our glazed white teapot. So you can make those choices yourself into which kind of brew you would like to do for which type of tea. So let me cool the water. I need to do a bit of cooling of the water before we start brewing. So I'll start by getting some water for the teapot, and I'll also have a little look at the leaf with you. So let me just change the camera angle again, and I shall be back with you in just a moment. So we have a little switcheroo. Okay, here we go. Oh. Are you okay, Mr. Camera? Okay, there we go. So, this is our Kabuse Sencha. It's a beautiful tea. So let's have a look at that beautiful dark green needle. Wow. It's very glossy as well. You can see it's a lot darker green than our previous tea. Let me show you a little bit up close. See that beautiful leaf. And you can see that mix of dark colours and lighter colours as well. And those dark colours are the leaf, the lighter colours are the stems. So we've got a few more comments here. Andrea says, what is the volume of the teapots? Great question. So these teapots, packed to the brim, are about 280 millilitres. So I like to brew a bit less, so there's probably about 100 millilitres in there, give or take. Yeah, that's kind of the amount that I like to brew with. So we're going to brew with just this amount, and we're going to fill up just 2 cups. So I'm going to pour the hot water into the cups, and this is going to heat our teaware, but also cool the water as well. So we can feel the teapot, it's just hot, it's not incredibly hot. And I'm going to take the water from the cups and just pour it into the pitcher, just cool it down a little bit more. And in the meantime, I will take the leaf and put it into the teapot. Okay, so I'm just cooling the water down a bit more before we step into the brewing. Right, so I think we can start brewing. And I want to just carefully pour the water over all of the leaf so we can get a nice even brew. And I find the more gentle you are with the brewing for Cabernet Sencha, the more umami you get, the more you get rewarded with that delicious umami flavor. So are you very big fans of umami? Would you say a shaded tea is more your favorite kind of tea? Is that something that you look for when you're picking up a tea, or is it more you want that sort of sencha bite, or perhaps you're more hojicha orientated? So let me know what kind of teas you prefer. I'd be very interested to see. Personally, for me, it depends on the time of day. Martina says yes, so she says she's more the umami type. Yeah, so it's a very unique thing, the umami. You can't find it in other teas from around the world. It's only in big concentration in Japanese tea, so it's quite a magical thing. When I was in Nepal for tea in 2017, I went to a Japanese tea factory and farm, Kopi, in Nepal. So they'd got all the machines, they had the tea garden, and they tried to make Japanese sencha, but it just didn't taste the same. It was very different. So a very special style of Japanese production to produce this tea. So we're very lucky to have the history and the flavor here in our favor. So let's start doing a little bit of pouring and look at the color. Whoa. It's looking pretty strong. It's looking very viscous as well. It looks very thick. The leaf looks very, and it's so green. Wow. Are you guys, well, I mean, I believe over in Europe it's going to be quite in the morning, but over here it's 4:30, so I'm drinking this highly caffeinated tea a little bit later in the day than you. So I hope this is not going to be too much. Hey ho. So Martina said that once I had a gyokuro and unreal soft taste. So it was very soft. And Martina says, but it wasn't too much, but it wasn't unpleasant at all for the umami. And over in Europe it's 9:30, so you guys are fine, it's tea time for you. No problem. So let me show you the leaf from the teapot. We have here, so you can see it's very green. A beautiful leaf as well. Look at that. Still a bit of tea left in the pot. Call those the golden drops. They're going to have the most flavour. So here's a trick I learnt. The interns actually taught me this. It's very kind of them. Last few drops. Okay. So let's show you the colour of the cup as well. So if you're on a computer it's not so bad, but if you're on mobile it's maybe nice to have the colour a little bit more clear so you can see how beautiful green that is. It's a beautiful cup of tea. Right. Let's have another switch of camera. And then let's enjoy some delicious tea. Okay, fantastic. So let's enjoy a delicious tea together. I'm sorry for shifting so much. It's a little bit difficult to sit in Seiza all the time. So let's enjoy some delicious tea. I'll leave this one over here so you guys can come and collect those later. Maybe we can have a little look at the colours as well. So I hope you're doing well. Whoa, that's very strong umami flavour. That's very tasty. Very tasty. So 9:30, quite right at the time. I asked a friend to examine the tea and it was with glutamate. Oh no. Very salty. Deary me. Well, This umami is a natural umami from the tea itself. So when you're tasting on the tea wheel, you have some very interesting ways to describe the flavors, and one of the ways is salty, and it's not uncommon to call an umami tea a little bit salty. So it's a natural occurrence for the flavor for our teas. It's not an unusual thing to be calling a tea like this a little bit salty. And Fabian, hello! Hello! I hope you're doing well. And we're just talking about different teas, and we've just brewed Hachiju Hachiya, and then we've just brewed some Kabase Sencha. So we're just having a little talk about those. I hope you're doing well. And good afternoon from Indonesia. Hello, hello! So welcome, welcome. Now, please ask all and every question. We've already had some wonderful questions, comments from people earlier, Martina, Andrea. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer all and everything all about tea. But in the meantime, let me just brew a little bit more Kabase Sencha. And then I think it's probably time we have a little talk about the Blue Forest Tea Garden. So the Blue Forest Tea Garden is our project from within the staff members. So this is not something that's looked after, a garden that's looked after by Aki-san, our lead farmer and president. This is a garden which is managed by the staff members who work in the office. So we've rescued another tea garden, and we've decided to repair it, and we've repaired a lot of the gyokuro shading material, and we've also trimmed the bushes and made sure we're looking after the tea bushes, and we're producing delicious teas. So we've had this garden since 2020, and we added more garden to it late in 2021, and now we're in 2022, and we're releasing the natural line of teas bit by bit. You can already find the natural gyokuro, and our tea club members were able to taste this natural gyokuro in September of last year. And this year we've produced more natural gyokuro, but we also have in total 11 natural teas, which will be released within the next month or two. We're just waiting on new labels and packaging to arrive, so we're quite excited for that. And this new line of teas is to show farmers as well as consumers that there isn't a limit to the flavors when you're in the transition from a conventionally farmed garden to an organic garden. And eventually these gardens will become certified organic, but in the meantime they go through usually a little bit of a quiet time where they're just allowed to grow. And farmers lose a lot of money during this time because they're not able to harvest the gardens. So we want to break that concept and create a new way of enjoying delicious teas, where during that period of 3 years where you have to wait, we want to be able to produce teas during this time and make you believe how delicious they are, because they truly are. So we have natural gyokuro, which we only use the trimmings from the garden to produce this tea. We just use the trimmings that fall. The trimmings fall onto the soil, and that's the energy the plant uses to grow the new shoots. And then we harvest those new shoots and produce some delicious teas. So you can purchase a couple already. We have our natural gyokuro. We have natural hojicha coming soon. We have natural yanagi, which is a bancha. And then we also have our natural sakura sencha. So the sakura produced this year was mixed with sencha from that garden, and we produce our natural sakura sencha. So it's a very, very tasty tea. So Andre Chang, I hope I pronounced that correctly. So all the natural teas from Abubu are all from the Blue Forest Tea Garden. Correct. Any of the natural teas you see are all from our Blue Forest Tea Garden. So this is a project where the staff will be looking after the gardens, and we also process the teas. So you can see on our YouTube channel the last Tea of the Month video, which was filmed by one of our interns, featured myself, and I brewed a natural sencha, and I did an ice brew where I poured over some ice. And this tea I harvested, I produced it with the help of interns, also with Hiro-san as well. So we worked together to produce these delicious teas, and myself, Kaio-san and Hiro-san were the lead farmers for the gyokuro production as well. So when you purchase those teas, we are the tea makers. And we've been producing teas for a couple of years now. So we're not professional tea farmers, but we're doing our best to produce some really delicious teas. And I tasted the teas this year, and I was actually blown away by the flavor profile. It was really tasty, and I couldn't believe that this was coming from a natural tea garden, and it was, something else. Really tasty. So this is the Blue Forest Tea Garden. Now, let me bring this back in. This is from one of our tea club members. His name is Mike, and he lives in Switzerland. And Mike tasted the teas that we sent him last year from the September shipment, including the natural gyokuro. And he also got sent a few more teas because he was the winner of the competition, along with Joshua, who were naming the Blue Forest Tea Garden from our newsletter. We sent out a competition to name the garden, and we chose their names and put them together, so the Blue Forest Tea Garden was born. So after that, and he got sent some different teas as a prize, he created a competition to taste all of the teas side by side to see who was the best tea producer out of the staff members. And this was a lovely competition. It was a bit of a healthy competition between the staff members to see which Joshua had chosen, and he sent several packages to us. And in the packages, he was talking us through the competition, the different parts of the competition, and the tasting. So in our journal, I have written up a little bit about the Blue Forest Tea Garden here, and also talked about Joshua and Mike, and then Mike's competition, and we even have Mike's tasting notes as well. So if you've received this in your tea club shipment, then please do have a look, and you'll be able to follow along as well, because it's very interesting. I won't tell you who won, you'll have to read it for yourselves, but very, very interesting competition to put together. It was very interesting for us, the staff members, as we'd not had one of the tea club members sort of put a competition together from our teas that we'd produced. So it was very exciting. We really appreciated it. Martina says, do you have a line of teas dedicated for cold brew? Now that's a good question. We don't have a line of teas dedicated for cold brew, but I would say we can do most of our teas for cold brew. But I guess it depends how cold, because ice brew is another kettle of fish. Excuse me. So for cold brew, I would recommend pretty much all hojicha and maybe Sencha of the Spring Sun. Sencha of the Summer Sun is good, but I think that's better as an ice brew. When it comes to cold brewing teas, I like to have a good balance between sort of the quality of the tea, but also the strength of the tea as well. So when you're going to be doing a cold brew, you want to use maybe 10 to 15 grams per litre. So you want to use a tea that's not your most expensive tea perhaps, but it's still going to produce a really, really tasty cup. So using something like Sencha of the Spring Sun is a really tasty way to enjoy the teas without breaking the bank so much. Or Sencha of the Earth is a good way to do that too. So Sencha of the Earth produces a really, really delicious flavor profile, so I really recommend that. And Andre says, this year's Spring Sun is great as cold brew. Oh, thank you, Andre. I've not actually tried it yet, so I really want to try that. I'm really glad you've already tried it for me. Thank you very much. So yeah, very, very tasty teas. When it comes to ice brewing, where we just put the dry leaf, add ice cubes on top, and allow this to melt and infuse, I would recommend going with a shaded tea. So something more like a gyokuro or even kabuse sencha is a really nice way to enjoy some very delicious flavors in the teas. So I would recommend that. I think that's a very good way to go. A very nice, nice type of brewing to do, especially in hot countries like we're in Japan right now, and in the summertime it's very hot. So we like to have some cold brew teas that were prepared the day before, or even ice brew teas that kind of melt in the heat. They're ice cold and they taste delicious. So those are my recommendations for those types of tea. And good questions, great questions. Yeah, thank you. No problem at all, Martina. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to answer all and every question. So yeah. So this is the Blue Forest Tea Garden. We're very excited to bring more videos and talks about that. And if you want to see a harvest in the Blue Forest Tea Garden, then you'll be able to see in the video that came along with this shipment. We put a QR code for the video on the back here. You can go ahead and see the harvest of the gold hojicha was from the Blue Forest Tea Garden in the top section, the Saimakari section this year. So very, very tasty tea. So Fabian says, I tried ice brew once, but my ice cubes had a strange smell to them, so it tasted really bad. Oh no. Yeah, I guess making sure that your ice in the first place is up to the job is a good starting point. But I'm sorry it didn't turn out so well. I don't know what to suggest for that. Maybe brewing with spring water or using frozen ice water. So getting a bottle of spring water and making the ice cubes with that can sometimes maybe affect it, or perhaps it's the plastic of the tray. I'm not quite sure. So I typically use ice cubes from a plastic trays that we have prepared in the office in the freezer, and that seems to work quite well. But they had this strange freezer smell. Okay, I'm not so sure about that then. I mean, we do keep our ice cube section separate, so we have a separate area in the freezer just for ice cubes. So perhaps that's the difference there, maybe the mix of the other parts. Okay, but I would be interested to see if you were able to get a good flavor profile, some nice success with that. That would be quite cool. So, because ice brewing tea is a really nice, enjoyable way to brew some tea, and you get very different flavors from your tea that you were perhaps used to brewing hot as well. Changing the temperature affects the flavor enormously. Oh no, Andrea says clean the freezer. Perhaps that might be the answer. I guess it depends on what kind of freezer you have, right? Because if you don't have the space to have like a separate section for ice cubes, that could be quite difficult as well, to be able to separate the foods and the ice cubes. So it depends on the setup you have available. But if you're able to get some ice cubes, maybe even purchase some from the store, and if you're able to use those, then you could experience some delicious cold brew teas too. So I think it's a really wonderful way to experience it. And if you can't do that, you can cold brew in the fridge. Cold brewing overnight is a wonderful way to enjoy tea, that's for sure. So with all these teas, you can do all of the brewing that we've just talked about. It's no problem. And you can explore the different flavors you'll get from each of the teas. So this is the Blue Forest Tea Garden. The last package we received from Mike, it contained this as the prize for the winner, and we voted to keep this at a boo-boo, and this now lives in our tea room where I am now, and we keep this, and the guests can always see it when they come through, and they always admire the beautiful bonsai blue tree we have here. So it was a lovely piece. So thank you very much, Mike. That's a wonderful, wonderful time. So next, the videos and updates. So we have some general updates about Abubu, which I'd like to tell you about. So first of all, you're able now to update your payment details and also your billing details, so billing and shipping details through the website. So I've now connected everything. We had help from one of our current interns, Laura, to put this all together. She is a superstar, and we've put it together so you're able to log into your Abubu website account, and then if you go to the account details area and payment methods and shipping addresses, then you're able to see the ones that we have on record for you, and if you want to change them, you can change them yourself. The pages are hosted by Stripe, and so they're securely hosted there, so you can change those details there. If you have forgotten your password, or you haven't received the email from us to create your account if you didn't already have one, then please let me know. Drop me an email and I will either change your password or I'll give you your account details again and we can get you logged in. So the other thing I'd recommend then is after you're logged in, you now have access to the discounts on the teas. So there's discounts at different times of the year for different teas, just for our Tea Club members. So right now, you have access to 14 different discounts on teas on the website, including all of the teas that were in the last shipment, plus many more. So this is a great opportunity to pick up some delicious tea. But what about the shipping costs, I hear you say? Don't worry about that at all. We've got you covered. You've got to have a Tea Club box delivered to you 4 times per year. So why waste the extra shipping space and combine them? If we're able to ship to you via DHL or even Japan Post, we're able to put around 2 kilos, especially for DHL, 2 kilos for the same price point. So instead of wasting 1.5 kilos of that, you can add in actually up to 1.4 kilos of extra tea order, and we can combine that together and there's no cost. So you can order those discounted teas and not pay any shipping cost at all, because it's already part of your Tea Club service and we're able to deliver some delicious teas to you. So this is another thing to have a look at. So when you have a moment, please head to the website, log in, and you can go to products and right down at the bottom, Tea Club discounts. And you can find the discounts on all the teas that we have for our Tea Club members. So it's a really wonderful way to enjoy lots of delicious tea and make the most of the shipping that you already receive. So we can combine it all into the same shipment. So if you haven't had a look at that, please do have a look at that. It's a wonderful way to enjoy the Tea Club more, make the most of the shipment that's already happening, make the most of the carbon dioxide produced. We want to make sure we can lower that as much as possible. So if you're thinking about ordering, please consider adding it to your Tea Club shipment and we can combine it together and we can get that to you. So if anyone has any questions about that, I've just given you a lot of information. Please just drop it in the chat. I'll answer it right now. We have about 10 minutes left. And I guess for the last 10 minutes, let's talk about one topic that popped up this morning, which was an idea where we would look at a carbon offset. So we could look at the production of Abubu, and how was it called? Carbon neutral or sustainable organic Tea Club box, that kind of thing. And so the carbon neutral idea, I think, is something we could definitely do, and I wonder whether you would be interested in it. So having the production or the rescuing more tea fields to drop the amount of carbon dioxide produced, and then also trying to offset each of the shipments, and we can figure out how much each of the shipments produces in terms of the shipping of the tea to you, so we can reach a carbon neutral standpoint. So if that's something you'd be interested, please do let me know, because it's something I've thought about, but it really needs a decent amount of time to do that idea the honour it deserves. So if it's something you're interested in, please let me know. We're always trying to improve the Tea Club, and change it in ways that are better for our members. So if you have some ideas or opinions about ways in which we can change the tea club, please let me know and I'll see what we can do. So I've done a lot of talking. I hope everyone's okay. If you guys are still hanging in there, if you want to let me know what tea you're drinking, because it's tea drinking time, and I think I might have to brew a little bit more tea because I'm getting a bit thirsty. So I hope everyone's well. If you can hear some noise in the background, it's our summer hand rolling event today, and we have had lots of guests, and they've been purchasing some other teas and enjoying the hand rolling event and able to produce, hand pick and hand roll their own teas. So very good. So well, Andrew says cold brew oolong needle. Excellent choice. That's a good one. Which year was the oolong needle? Actually, I would just ask, because each year it's a little bit different, and 2022 is no different. There's another production this year as well. Martina is drinking Yame Sencha. That is a very lovely type of tea. Andrea says, there's never enough tea. This is very true. There is never enough tea. So we're always trying to drink more, but also produce more delicious tea as well. So this is a delicious thing. Andre says, the year 2020, I've not gotten around to trying 2021 yet. That's fair enough. I have to be honest, I believe that oxidized Japanese teas, just get better with age. So when I've been tasting the 2020 oolong needles and the 2021, each subsequent time I taste it, it only gets better. And same with the wakocha. If I am drinking a pine needle wakocha from 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it's just getting better each time. It's getting sweeter, more fruity. Really, really tasty tea. So yeah, it's very, very interesting to try out. And if you can age it and if you can keep hold of it, then I would really recommend it, because it is so delicious. And the 2020 especially, it had more steaming than the 2021. So we were able to get something closer to a sencha, but more fruity. So it really is a oolong needle sencha. So it's a very, very tasty tea. But you'll find when you try the 2021, it is a lot darker. And so that one is also doing really well if you age it a little bit more as well, is what I found anyway. So that one's now a year old, the 2021. And 2022, it's also quite strong, but it lands somewhere in the middle between the 2020 and 2021, so darker end, lighter end. It's somewhere in the middle. And with these oxidized teas, always waiting until after the summertime, it always improves the tea. So that's my recommendation for that, definitely. Okie dokie. So if anyone has any questions, now's a good time to ask as we start coming to a close. I'll do my best to answer them before we end today's live session. Or oolong needle bundle soon. That sounds good. That does sound good. So oolong needle bundle. We do have 3 years now. So that would be interesting to try it all 3 years. And the first year was from Aki's Fields. Second year and third year are from the natural tea garden, so the Blue Forest Tea Garden. So that'll be very interesting to try out. Ooh. Yeah, I'll have to think about that, because there's also a couple of other secret teas which we haven't announced yet, which are going to be very interesting. So things that people have never even heard of before, such as black gyokuro. So very excited to announce those properly. You guys have heard it first, but we need to wait on the packaging to arrive, and then we're going to be putting that together and sending that out. So super tasty tea, and very unusual, so I recommend that one. So I hope I'll be able to put that maybe as a discounted tea, but we'll have to see how we go. So keep your eyes peeled. But it won't be in the tea club this year, I'm afraid. But I think that might be a good thing for next year. So yeah. Okie dokie. So if anyone has any more questions, please jump into the chat and please ask. And if not, then I shall start coming to a close today. And while I wait for the video to catch up, let me show you what it looks like outside today. So outside is, it was very sunny this morning. Very sunny this morning. And it's got progressively more and more rainy. So I can just have a show you a little bit of what it looks like today. So very rainy today. You can see our interns. We have Justin and Marie. So walking in the rain. We've just finished the event. So we're bringing some of the things back from the event. So beautiful, beautiful day in the rain. And you can see some of the clouds in the mountains. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okie dokie. So jump back around here. So Andrea says, will it be possible to make a sample box where you choose samples yourself? Now, it's a good question. I have thought about this before, but the difficulty would be being able to put together something like that with all the shipping that we have to do already on the go. So I think that might be a little bit difficult to do in practice, but if we're able to set something up where it's a little bit easier to manage something like that, then I think so. If you have some ideas how we could manage the production of a custom sample box every time someone orders, I would love to know, because I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it would be great for people to be able to try out lots of different teas, but choose the ones they want. But in the meantime, we have the sampler set, which has now 19 different teas, I believe, from our tea gardens, with loads of delicious teas in there. And one of the things that I like to do is, when I have lots of these sample sizes, I usually give them to friends, because I want them to enjoy Japanese tea as much as I do, and try out new delicious things and try different brewing methods. So it's something that I typically do when I take my tea club membership, which I have. I maybe drink 3 and gift 2, something like that. But very good idea nonetheless. And if there's any ideas to help me solve that problem of the custom samples each time, I definitely all ears, because I would really like to put something like that together. I think it's a good idea. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Andrea. I know it's not the perfect answer you were hoping for, but yeah, I've got to think about how to put that one together. Okay, so I think that's probably us for today. Thank you very, very much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed having a chat with you guys and being able to brew a couple of teas, talk about the Blue Forest Tea Garden, talk about updates to the membership and how you can update the membership and benefits you have now. So I really hope you've enjoyed the time with me today. And yeah, let's do this again soon. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day and enjoy some delicious Japanese tea. Bye bye.